For this part of the video, I'll be focusing on the planning question. I'll be sharing with you my mental approach to this question, planning in general. And I want you to pay attention to the steps that I take. And whenever I encounter a problem, how do I go about breaking this problem down into smaller and simpler problems? So let's begin. So first I will read this question and I want to find out what is my end game, meaning that in the end, what do I need? And usually this thing, it is in the first statement. So here you can see that this question wants me to find a relationship between A and P. So immediately in my mind, I would know that, okay, at the end of my planning, I need to have something like P and A, and I need to have multiple reading, right? And this multiple reading, in the end, right, is going to allow me or enable me to plot something like a PA graph, whereby this graph can be a straight line, can be a curve, or any other another form of lines lah. So basically, whether it is straight line or a curve will tell me what kind of relationship I have between A and P, right? So before I go and read all this, right, these bullet points, right, will tell me what to focus on in my writing. But before I even approach this, I need to form in my mind, right, what are some values that I will need. I need to have a rough idea of what I need before I can fit what I need into this 4 bullet point. Okay, so before I even go into this 4 bullet point, in my mind I will have something like that. Then the next question that I need to ask is, okay, I need P and I need A. Are they something that I can measure directly? Because if these 2 parameter, right, can be measured directly, it will be very easy for me. I can say that, oh, okay, I'm going to use this meter and then I'm going to measure A. Then after that, I'm going to change this and then I'm going to measure P using another type of meter. But unfortunately, for this particular question, I have set it such that both parameters cannot be measured directly. They are processed value. So because of that, you need to go through another mental step. This P and this A, can I break it into something that is simpler and something that can be measured directly? So for power, is there something called a power meter in our lab? No, right? So I cannot. I need to find the expression whereby P equals to something that I can measure directly. Similarly, if you look at area A, right, I don't have a meter that is called area meter and I can measure it directly. So I need to break it down into something more basic. So for this purpose, I will look at A first, because area is something that is easy, right? It's just length times breadth. But this is practical, so I need to know this area refers to what. So how do I answer this question? Is I actually already in the question paper. So I go and look at A. Here I can see, okay, I'm going to find A. A is a type of area, and this area is basically the area covered by the tape, right? And here this 3 cm, right, basically is just a dummy value, right? I can pull out a tape that is 4 cm, I can pull out a tape that is 5 cm, 7 cm, so on and so forth, right? So this is what I mean by dummy value. So once I have this idea, I go back to my planning, right, my rough planning. I will know that A is actually given by the width of the scotch tape multiplied by a certain length, a certain distance, right? And this W basically is a constant because this roll of tape, right, has a fixed width, correct? And of course, to me, it is easier for me to change the distance, the amount of tape that I pull out, right? I can pull out like this amount of tape, right, compared to the W where I need to trim it. It is difficult, right? So in my mind, I know that, okay, I am supposed to come up with different reading of A. And this different value of A, right, basically is made up of one constant called W and a dummy value called D. So what does this mean? This means that my D can be one of my variable, right? Most likely, my sensing is that this D is going to be my independent variable because it is easy for me to pull out 3 cm, pull out 4 cm, pull out 5 cm. It is very straightforward for me. So now I've settled in my mind that, oh, okay, this guy is my independent variable. The next thing that I need to deal with is, how am I going to obtain P? Right, I don't have a power meter, so what to do? I will need to take my hint from the earlier question. So if you look at step I, power is given by this formula, P equals to F times D over T. And I noticed something immediately. This D, isn't this D the amount of tape that I'm going to pull out? So I need to ask myself, this D and this D are they the same D? Right, because that is important to me. So I need to go and check, okay, this force times this area that I'm pulling out, right, this 3 cm, let's look at it. You're going to pull. Okay, how much to pull? See, okay, do you notice that it is again the 3 cm and the same 3 cm? So it means what? It means that this area that I am peeling off, right, the D there, right, actually these two D are the same. Then I'll be very happy lah. This means what? This means that there is a link between them. Correct or not? Yeah? That means if I change my D here, most likely my power here will experience a change. Correct or not? Then I need to ask myself, oh, okay, then how about this F? Can this F be a variable? Well, if it is a variable, then that is bad news, right? You have two variables to play with, and in an experiment, you should have one thing change, which cause another parameter to change. The rest should be controlled, right? So I need to check whether this force over here, is it a constant or is it something that will vary? So I go and look, what is my F? Oh, I see, I found F like this. How do I find F? Oh, okay, F is found by this KE, right? I know that K is basically a constant. So I need to now look at E. Is my E a variable? Then I look here. Okay, nothing about E except here, right? Except, oh, okay, now I look at H. You see that, oh, you want a constant extension. So as you peel, the extension should be kept constant. So meaning that if this guy is constant, this guy is constant, that means this guy, F, is also constant. So I'm settled with this. Correct or not? It's a constant. Then after that, I look at my time. Oh, time, I think it is definitely not a constant, right? Time will be changing. Correct or not? So time will change depends on the amount of length that I'm peeling away, right? So in my mind now that I kind of understand the logic, then I go back to this table. Because in the end, right, when I want to do my planning, basically my instruction is to facilitate me to get the readings that I need in my table of data. So now what I need, okay, W I'm going to keep constant, right? I'm going to summarize it. W I'm going to keep constant, right? The amount of extension that I get from the spring, I'm also going to get it as constant. The force is also going to be constant, right? Okay, so now I write down what are the data that I need. Okay, the distance that I am, that means the D that I'm peeling out is going to be a variable. So I need to include it in a table, right? With this D, I'm going to pull it, right? So I will also have T, correct? The amount of time that is required for me to complete peeling off this distance. Any other thing? Don't have already, so I don't have this, right? And basically, if I get a D and I get a T, basically I can go and calculate my P and A, right? So basically these two variables over here will enable me to actually get a relationship between P and A. So now in my mind, I already have a rough idea, right? I'm going to keep the width of the tape constant. I'm going to pull the tape such that the amount of extension on my spring is constant, which will lead my force constant, right? And what I'm going to change, I am going to stick the tape on the paper, and then I'm going to peel a certain distance out. This distance could be maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and as I peel it out, I'm going to measure the time I take to peel it out. Correct or not? So it means that I will have my distance over here as my independent variable, and then I'm going to have a timer to measure the amount of time as my dependent variable. Oh, sorry, this one typo. Right, and after I get these two reading, I am going to use equation 1 to get the A, equation 2 to get the P, and then after that I'm going to plot the PA graph, and then I can get either a straight line or a curve or whatever I need to confirm the relationship here, right? Relationship here refer to linear or non-linear. Simple as that. So just by having this rough idea, I know that okay, I will be able to get the full marks already. Worst come to worst, I will get 3 out of 5, even if I make some mistakes. So now I need to look at the bullet points. What are the things that I want to focus on? Okay, I need to have a list of quantity to keep constant. I already have this one, right? No need a list lah, right? As long as I get 3, it is good enough. So I have 3 of them. Independent, dependent variables, well, I have already identified them. So I'm going to use D and T as my dependent and independent and dependent variable. I need to have a description. Okay, this one is the hardest to get because the description will occupy a big chunk of my answer. Then after that, I am supposed to give a sketch of a graph to prove that A and P are directly proportional. So directly proportional means that it is a straight line that must cut 0, 0. Okay, so now I have this sensing, right? Basically bullet point 1, 2, and 4 is I can confirm get it already. So it's already 4 out of 5. Now I just need to, pay attention to this description. So I haven't started yet. All these are done in my mind. So description, let's look at what are the steps that I can copy from the main question. First thing, of course, I will need to get the setup. So I need to say something like do step A, step B I also need. I need a step to find my F, right? So meaning that I need to do until G, right? To do until G, I will be able to obtain the F that I need for my future calculation of P. Then after that, I'm going to repeat, and that's about it, right? So I need to use step A to F, step A to G to get my F. So here I need to tell myself, okay, F, right, is obtained by doing step B to G. Correct? So I check again, B to G. B actually no need, right? B no need. Actually B need. B to G will enable me to get the F that I need. Okay, so now I can start writing the proper presentation. So first I write down what is my independent variable, right? So I write down my independent variable. Independent variable, I decided to use the D, right? So I will just write down that it is the length of tape that I peel off, right? D. But in this case, I have to calculate it in terms of meter because I have to calculate power. Okay, then after that I will have my dependent variable. So this dependent variable will be the time, right? So it is the time taken to peel off the length of tape. And I'm going to give T, and it's in seconds, right? So by writing this, I will be able to get this point already. Then I would want to get my points for my constants. Constant, well, so just looking by this, I would know that, oh, okay, I need to keep the width constant, right? So the width of my tape. Then after that, I want to keep the extension and the force constant, meaning that the type of spring that I'm using should be used the same, right? And I know that I'm going to the adhesive tape, it is going to work against me, right? So I should use the same type of tape. Since the tape is on the paper, I should also use the same type of paper lah. Right, and I think that is about it. Okay, so now I need to, so I score bullet point 1. Now I'm going to tackle bullet point 4, right? Bullet point 4 is easier to score ma. So bullet point 4, I scroll to the back and I say something like I have to provide a sketch, is it? A sketch of the graph. Okay, so I provide a sketch of the graph. I guess I will be doing here. So I put a sketch of the graph. So it is what? A and P. Okay lah. I go and put P, W, A, maybe meter square. Make it easier lah. Then I have to make sure that the graph prove that A and P are directly proportional. So to prove directly proportional, I must put 0, 0, cut, and it is a straight line, right? So I have to say that by plotting P versus A, it will prove that P is directly proportional to A if the graph shows a straight line passing through 0, 0. So by doing this, I have scored the last bullet point. So just by doing this, right, I already secured 3 out of 5 marks. And if I'm running out of time, I will skip. Okay, but for this video, of course, we will complete and tackle the most challenging bullet point, which is bullet point 3, right? I have to provide a description on how I would perform the experiment. So basically, if your memory is like me, not very good, basically this thing, right, only have a few essential steps, right? There's the measure and record statement times 2 for my independent variable and my dependent variable, correct? Then I have to have a calculation statement if it involves some form of process value. Then after that, I have to have a tabulate step that will enable me to produce a table like this one. Then after that, I will need to repeat certain step for 5 times, so that I will have, reading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that will enable me to plot a graph, right? So essentially, to score in bullet point 3, this is basically a rough checklist that I will need, for myself to check that, oh, okay, I have completely answered the question. So let's begin. Okay, first, of course, I need to set up the setup, right? So I will say step 1, we will set up the apparatus as shown in figure 1.1, right? Correct. Then step 2 normally will be the step whereby I will provide a dummy value and then I will use the measure and record statement and say something like, oh, I want to obtain my independent variable. But for this particular case, my independent variable is actually not power. I cannot measure power directly. So it means that I need to have some statement so that it will enable me to get the force, which will later on be used in my power formula. So for this, that's why the rough planning is important. So here I will just say that repeat step B to G to obtain F, right? So now I have F. So once I have F, oh wait, oh yeah, I can obtain F. I can obtain F before I start pilling and timing myself. So once I have F, I will do my next step, which is to actually take down the tape. So let's see if I have an instruction that I can use. So to get the statement to take down the tape, I would refer myself to step H, because in step H they already included a very complete instruction on taping down the tape and peeling away from the paper using a stopwatch and all that. And the only thing that I want to change is this 3 cm, because I need to tell the marker that I am aware that this 3 cm is a dummy value, and as I progress with my planning, this 3 cm is going to increase to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So this is step H, right? I want to repeat step H. So down here, I will say something like I want to repeat step H, right? But this time, I'm going to measure and record the distance to peel as D, right? Using the meter rule. Okay, then I will also measure and record the time taken to peel the meter of tape off as T, right? Because here it says measure this thing, right? And then record as T, right? So the format is the same. Yeah, and don't forget, you need to mention what kind of equipment that you want to use to measure this. So for my step number 5, for the time, I'm going to use a stopwatch. So now I have these two statements. So after I obtain my D and after I obtain my H, referring to my rough plan, I will then need to go and calculate my P and my A respectively. So I will need my calculation statement. I will need to say calculate A by A equals to W times D, right? So one action, one step. So my step 7 will be to calculate power by P equals to F times D divided by T. Then since these bullet points, right, didn't ask me to come up with a new step to improve the accuracy, I'm not going to find trouble for myself. So in this case, after 6 and 7, it will be to tabulate it. So then I will say tabulate your D, your T, your P, and A in a table. So just to check, do I have a step? Do I have a step to find D? I do, right? Do I have a step to find T? I do. Do I have the steps to find P and A? I do, right? So once after this, what I have done here is that, I already have something like this, DTPA, right? But so far, I only have one reading, and I cannot have one reading to plot a graph. So meaning I need to have another step. I need to repeat step number 3 to 8, right? I need to repeat step 3 to 8 by changing D to get 5 other sets of reading, right? So that I can have more reading. So with more reading, I will be able to form a line, right? So after I form a line, then of course I will need to plot P versus A, and followed by this will be my step 11. So once I finish this, I will do a quick check against my checklist. Do I have at least 2 measure and record statement? I do. Have I calculate anything? I did. I have tabulate and I have repeat so that I can have multiple data. So with this, I will get my full 5 marks. Okay.